Hello everybody, it's John Soares, and today I'm reacting to a video by Doug Tenaple that is about Mel Gibson. And I realize that this is about a month old. I think this was back during the election cycle, but it was just recently sent to me. The topic here is perpetually relevant, so I'm going to comment on it anyway. I also want to disclose up front, I've known Doug for many, many years. We first met when we got together and we made a collection of weird little internet shorts. They're like action comedies called Sock Baby. And we've worked together for major studios like DreamWorks. I haven't talked to him in probably like 6 years. I'll probably repeat this a few times, but this is not really a correction of Doug himself. It's more a clarification because I do feel like this is a pretty confusing topic and a lot of people don't know some of the things I'm going to tell you. So, Doug, don't take it personally or anything.
I don't think it's going to surprise anyone who I vote for.
It's not going to surprise anyone because we can all guess. He is a super devout, like one of those, some kind of Catholic.
Mel Gibson is not a Catholic.
I don't know what the name is. I'm a Protestant.
It's okay, Doug. Mel Gibson is basically a Protestant too.
But obviously he's going to support Trump.
In reality, American Catholics are split right down the middle politically. Basically, we all believe the same things, but we have differences in which of those things we feel should be enforced by secular civil governments.
I know what it'll be like if we let her in.
Yeah.
Oh, really? And that ain't good.
Yeah.
Not good, especially if you're a Catholic. We already know that they've sent the FBI after conservative pro-life Catholics.
It was discovered that the FBI was targeting what are called traditional Catholic parishes. Now, I'm obviously against this. I think anybody should be able to practice their religion freely and without the risk of being targeted for surveillance and infiltration by the FBI. But I do think it's important to clarify, we're not actually talking about Catholics. We're talking about a group called the Sedevacantists. Mel Gibson is a Sedevacantist. Sedevacantists are not Catholics. They are a schismatic group that believes that there has not been a valid pope since the late 60s. There is no provision for any such belief in the Catholic Church, and so any person who holds such a belief is in schism and are thus not part of the Catholic Church. And so Mel Gibson is not part of the Catholic Church. Mel Gibson, like most Sedevacantists, is happy to let the public believe that he's a Catholic. A lot of times Sedevacantists will refer to themselves as traditional Catholics. But this is, of course, an insult to all other Catholics because all Catholics are intrinsically traditional. What Sedevacantists actually are is a traditionalist sect, which means that they elevate very specific traditions from very specific places and times, and they elevate them above all other traditions. This is most popularly demonstrated among the Sedevacantists in their preference for the Tridentine liturgy, which they elevate as the only valid liturgy in the Catholic Church, which, of course, there's no teaching that expresses this in the Catholic Church. It's also ironic because the Tridentine liturgy is younger than the Protestant schism. This xeno-nationalistic tendency also tends to overlap with general nationalistic tendencies. Like you might remember Mel Gibson's drunken anti-Semitic rant in the back of that cop car. A lot of people might try to tell you that, hey, he was just drunk and he was saying things that he didn't mean or didn't understand. Unfortunately, everything that he said is really standard ideology that you'll find among Sedevacantists. So I don't believe that he wasn't saying something that he really did believe. I think that was exactly what he believed. That's generally the kind of stuff you hear from Sedevacantists. I don't necessarily blame Doug for making this mistake because Sedevacantists go to bizarre lengths to obfuscate their true identities and to make people think that they are Catholics. In fact, you've likely heard the names of a lot of them without even realizing it. The Warrens, for example, were two Sedevacantist frauds that were well known in Catholic circles for presenting themselves as Catholic demonologists to sell books. Lorraine Warren even went as far as to claim that she and Ed were the only lay people in the Catholic Church that were authorized to confer formal exorcisms. There are no lay people authorized to confer formal exorcisms in the Catholic Church. But beyond that, Ed and Lorraine Warren were not even Catholics. They were good friends with Father Malachi Martin, who was not only ejected from his order, but also forbidden from acting in the office of the priesthood at all by the Catholic Church. And his response to this was just to move from Italy to the U.S. and continue to practice an illicit priesthood, which he claimed was a Catholic priesthood, without telling anyone. And of course, he's had movies and documentaries and books written about him. The Warrens and Father Malachi Martin had another friend, a former police officer and a Sedevacantist named Ralph Sarchi. Now, I've talked to Ralph Sarchi myself, and of course he never revealed that he was in a state of schism with the Catholic Church, was happy to present himself to me in the capacity of a deliverance minister, which can only be practiced in Catholicism with the supervision of a valid Catholic bishop. I can also show you evidence that Ralph Sarchi gets incredibly angry if you bring up the fact that he's a Sedevacantist. He doesn't deny that he's a Sedevacantist. He gets angry if you tell people. And of course, Ralph Sarchi had a big movie made about him too, called Deliver Us from Evil. Mel Gibson himself has been caught in a myriad of anti-Catholic lies in public. One of my favorites is when he claimed that the Catholic bishops of the United States refused to speak to him about his film, The Passion of the Christ. When in reality what happened was that he went to the office of the United States Catholic Bishops Conference while no bishops were there because they were all at home running their dioceses like all over the country. Walked into the office and demanded to speak to a bishop, was told that none were there, and then he left. That's the whole story. Mel Gibson also personally finances a schismatic church in Agora Hills that is not in communion with the Catholic Church. A Catholic in good standing is not going to do something like that. All of these people have books and movies and documentaries and everything made about them, or they've produced and directed movies. If you see a movie that's about Catholicism in some way, it usually has a Sedevacantist connected to it somehow. If it's not Mel Gibson, it's somebody that's connected to him. It's a little weird. Find me one practicing Catholic who's in good standing with the Catholic Church who has that kind of influence over the film industry. I can't name a single one. Of course, a lot of people will name them, but they don't realize that they're talking about Sedevacantists because they all present themselves as Catholics. Now, I would go as far as to call Sedevacantists a hate group. And why would I do that? Well, there's a surface reason. A lot of hate groups will present themselves as if they are the group that they hate. You know, like you take like the Black Israelites, for example, who present themselves as the true Jews while actively engaging in common anti-Semitic activities and speech. Or the Ku Klux Klan. The government actually outlawed Catholic penitent processions in America, and the Ku Klux Klan was mocking us by dressing in the garments of a Catholic penitent brotherhood. Go a little deeper and you find that Sedevacantists constantly lie about Catholics. They are shameless liars. I've never met one that didn't open the conversation with some kind of insulting lie. They hate the mainstream media. I hate the mainstream media. But Sedevacantists love to quote mainstream media headlines if they're lies about the Catholic Church. Suddenly, the media is telling the truth if it's something negative about Catholics. Lastly, I've been personally harassed by this group for nearly 25 years. It's a small contingent of people, but they're very aggressive. The first time I ever encountered them, they were waiting outside of my church after Mass, trying to convince children and teenagers to abandon the Catholic Church because its Mass wasn't real. They didn't go to their parents, of course. They went to the kids. And these are really bad people. Okay, like I can't stand them. I won't speak to them even because they're constantly trying to entrap you. They're constantly lying. They'll often open conversations with lies. So I don't speak to them at all. I find them to be an evil movement. And again, I'm not blaming Doug for being fooled by these people, but I think it's important to know the difference. And of course, do I disagree with Doug's general message in this video about the FBI targeting them? Of course I don't. I think, even though I think they're evil, I think within the standards of the way that the U.S. government is supposed to be set up, they should be left alone unless they do something violent. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. I'm John, and you can find out everything you need to know about me in the description down below. See you next time.